Mr. Raju, who's got a resort.
You are part of. You have Bharti's number? She's not turned up. No, I don't. You have Bharti's number? Okay, on behalf of Art of Living, it gives me great pleasure to invite all the architects who've gathered here. I mean, it's really nice for all of you to take the trouble, take the time off to come all the way and to visit the center, the skill center, the Atangudi Tile Center, and extend your support. So on behalf of Art of Living, I extend my heartfelt thanks. And now we have Air Commodore Mirani retired. He actually is the chairperson of SSRDP. SSRDP stands for Sri Sri Rural Development Program. Okay, they have done immense work, absolute in-depth work in the rural areas, some of the remote regions, as far as Ladakh, the Naxal hit areas, etc. So I welcome Mr. Mehrani to, run through what the tremendous amount of work which SSRTB has been doing.
Thank you, Nandini ji. She introduced me as retired, but I'll just correct that and say I'm re-attired. I was in blues for 34 years in the Indian Air Force, and then for 6 years in the corporate, and now for the last 7 years I've been a trustee and chairman for the last 3 years here in Sri Sri Rural Development Trust. Excuse me, I forgot to switch off my mobile. So, SSRDP started in 2001 as very small. In the last 4 or 5 years, we've grown big. This building also came up during COVID. And you've seen we've got computers and mobile repair training center on the ground floor, and we have the first floor available for, again, computer skills, tally, etc., and 3D printing. And on top of that, we have Bosch Artisan Center, which is basically power tools, carpentry. And we have the Bridge Training Center, which is Bosch's response to India's development and growth through employment enhancement, where we teach students a few things about the service sector, customer relations, etc. And we make them employable, earning about 12 to 15,000 rupees a month to begin with. Many of them have gone well past that. And on top of that, we have Schneider Electric, which is set up for us, the Electrician Training Center and the Solar Technician Center. So I hope you all saw that at the, sorry, I had to remind you and repeat. So when you take away, you know that we have these three here. Besides this, we also are partners of National Skill Development Corporation, which is the executive arm of the Ministry of Skills and Entrepreneurship. So in that, we were partners in the PMKVY, which was the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, which closed down during COVID and also due to very poor results, they themselves say we've trained 20 lakh people and the number of people who got employed was less than 2 lakh. So 10% return on investment was no good deal at all. So version 4.0 is being launched in a different way, and we'll probably have this building also recognized by them. So with NSDC, we can still do paid courses and we do recognition of prior learning. That is, even if there is a mason, a plumber, a street food vendor, a yoga teacher, instructor, if he's been doing something for years, the government felt it necessary to certify such people. So we do a 3-day program, in some cases even just a 1-day program, to give them a little update on what they are doing through the correct sector skill council, and then we hold a test by an independent agency. If they pass the test, then they get a certificate that they are in this field for so many years, etc., and they pass the test, they get a government certificate. So we do that certificate issuing and training also. Welcome, Bharti ji. And we have centers now, starting from the south, Thoothukudi in Tamil Nadu, Papnasham also we have a center near Tanjavur. As we go north, we have this center in Bangalore, of course. We have 2 centers in Maharashtra. Nagpur is one and Amravati is another. We have in Chhattisgarh, we have a center. Further north, we have a center right in Pathankot, in Kaithal, in Haryana. Pathankot is in Punjab. And further north, we have a very big center with electrical and all that in Jammu. In Srinagar, we have centers in the jail, same electrical again, and also beautician and plumbing, thanks to Jaguar. And we have a center in Baramulla, in Kashmir. So that is one. We have centers in 28 jails across India, in Assam as well, in the northeast. And we have set up ITIs with modern equipment in 24 ITIs in different states, right from Sikkim onwards to Baroda, Gujarat, and again in the east, right, 2 or 3 in the east, Assam, and also in Mizoram, we are talking to them, and Andaman Nicobar also, they have asked us to come. Nepal has asked us to modernize 10 of their ITIs, including the one at Lumbini, Buddha's birthplace. So this is ITIs, upgrading of ITIs, and the jails. We work quite a bit. And we do the Art of Living prison program also first, and then we give them this technical skill. So how is our training different? Any guesses? Since it's afternoon and you all have had such a busy day, you must be wanting to doze off. So let me keep the interest alive. I have only 2 more minutes, I think. From what you've seen at the ashram, what would you say? How are we different from others? You see,
it's not for profit, right?
yes.
Yeah.
But there are many others not for profit as well. But we have something we give extra. All the courses that we run here, we make them do the Youth Leadership Training Program, which is a life skills program. We call it our baseline program, and it's our program for capacity building. We believe that rural youths generally lack sometimes confidence, sometimes self-esteem, sometimes enthusiasm to do things. So this course helps youth to build a personality in just 7 days. And the course is from 6 in the morning till 9:30 in the night, with, of course, meal breaks and all that. So those who do the youth leadership program, they are in the ages of 19 to 23 or so. And it's quite a transformational program. And then we push in the technical part, which they are able to. So all our partners have, whenever they come and address the students, they take pains at pointing out to them how lucky they are that they get this sort of grounding for life. It's not just the course that they do. Every day in the morning before they come here, they do a little practice in the morning. We teach them pranayam and yoga combined. So they get up early, and before they come for breakfast, they have this yoga for 1 hour and 15 minutes, yoga pranayam. So, and they carry this with them for life. I've been carrying it with me for 21 years now. Even when I was in the Air Force, I was doing that. So, this is what SSRDP is. We also have the we are a CBBO, cluster-based business organization, selected by the central government, Ministry of Agriculture. We have FPOs, 25 of them, 5 more in the pipeline. Farmer-producer organizations, farmer-producer companies. So these companies have offices. We have 300 farmers, some well-to-do farmers. If they want buildings built, houses built, you all are there. We'll refer them to you and you to them. We are continuously growing. We are supposed to have, as per the government norms, 300 farmer members for each FPC. In some, we have crossed 500, 600 also, like in Sakleshpur, etc. So we have this large body of rural farmers, well-to-do farmers, as well as poor farmers connected to us. And as far as centers go, a lot of people are recognizing that we are good to go with NGO. Just this morning, Tapasya was telling me, our application for NGO gradation has been accepted. Can you hear me? I once asked, can you hear me at the back? And someone said, I can, but I wouldn't mind exchanging places with someone who can't. So I hope that's not the case here. So they, have accepted us, given us a grading of A2. A1 is the topmost, but we are very happy. First time applicants. And so seeing that, people come forward on their own and give us property. Now this is where probably you all come in. They give us property saying that, look, it's not ready to occupy. Maybe you can do it up. Take a look at it, like the one we have in Hyderabad. We've been dragging our feet about that because there is some work to be done on that. Someone else has given us in Nagpur, a well-to-do person, his wife passed away, so 14,000 square feet they want us to. We've already opened AC repair and refrigeration center there. Then we have a resort person with 200 rooms in Amravati. He's given us space for starting a center. A place from the government side, Delhi government is telling us to open, not Delhi, sorry, UP government in Noida, NCR, just about 1 hour's drive from South Extension. We are getting some space there. Bhiwandi, which is 50 kilometers from Bombay, somebody is giving us 10,000 square feet space there. So we have to really upscale our HR, our human resources, to be able to deliver the same kind of standard. And of course, wherever we have to get the buildings done up, we'll have to do that as well. So that is it. If there are any questions you want to ask me, I'm available. Otherwise, I'll pass the mic on to one of you to come in. Nandini, thank you.
What the wonderful work which SSRDP is doing. Now we'll start with the first panel discussion, which is going to be on heritage and revival. Okay, so I'll call the panelists. We've got an esteemed set of panelists. Pratima Situr of Right Inspires. Welcome, Pratima. And Shruti M. Vedavyas of JSM Fountainhead. Welcome, Shruti. Indrajit Kembavi of Kembavi Associates. Sendil Das, Play Architecture, and Bharti Harish, Director, Madhurya Creations. Thank you all for coming. I think I will take one chair. Yeah. So that I can face I can face them here. You want to keep this mic? I can have one mic. Yeah. Okay. The question of heritage keeps coming up to us. We keep talking about heritage. We have to revive, etc., etc. But how much of it are we really, actually doing? This is what we are. Whether we are really supporting, whether we are. What is the ground realities is what we want to talk about. So I would start with Pratima Situ. See, when we really look at the ground realities, it's not very welcoming. If you look at the artisans, not the traditional artisans, the children are not wanting to continue what the forefathers were doing. So they want to become an IT professional, they want to become a doctor, engineer, so why should we continue, carry on this? And the same thing with, when you're talking about even the market, not everybody is really, looking at buying. So you're looking at the supply and the demand side, which is not very conducive. So let's leave the demand side first. When you're looking at the supply side, so do you look at how exactly we could address this? And secondly, should we look at starting some kind of a skill centers like the way they have started here for the traditional artisans, where it's not just being passed on from one generation to the other, home schooling, so to say, but we actually have some centers where even those who are not born in that family, those people who have an expertise or an inclination, they can also become. But my question would be, is that maybe I'll come to that first. Let me hear this.
Hey, hi, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, it feels very good to stay in a skill center like this, which is something very rare that you see everywhere. There are so many schools today which takes children from class 1 to class 12 and make them go through that usual process. But how many of this age group of children know our traditional art? That is where we are losing. So can we do something that our little young children know about what we used to do, how we used to be in this country earlier? That's where it is. So how is that we make it interesting for that generation? We have made the textbooks interesting for them, so this will definitely be much more interesting for them. So there are a lot of things that we can do, and India being so huge, and this is rural craftsmanship, we could, a place like Art of Living could invest in some mobile, earlier days we used to have mobile libraries. So we could have mobile skill set centers and take these to various schools. I would say it needs to go to schools where every child is learning the same way. If you have taken the child through that 16 years of age and they're already at a stage where they have an opportunity education-wise, where they can earn more money, they will not come back to this. This will not be their interest. Or if you say some child who is academically not doing good has to go in with the skill, so there itself you're differentiating. So every child has to be given this exposure, and they can either be there as people who will follow this or who will appreciate this. We need both of them. So we see a lot of we see a lot of foreigners liking our textile, liking the art and craft from this land. It's because they value it. They haven't seen it. So that's the trick. We should catch the people young, is what I feel.
Okay, that's a very good point, catch them, because if you're looking at the traditional, the way it was traditionally passed down, they were starting young. But one thing I would like to ask here is, like, for example, if you're talking about a weaver, intricate weaves, or let's say stone carving, etc., they are, spending all their time, doing that. Would you advocate that sort of a thing, at a later stage, where you have a skilling center, where just like they're having a plumbing center, you have a complete skilling center where you have an expertise, we start training them? Would you advocate something like that, where it is just not something passed on by uncle, aunt, etc.? Would that work, or is it something we are just taking it away from the fabric of it? What are your comments on that?
Today, again, there has been a lot of distraction in how whatever is taught. Very few families pass on. Whatever they have as a skill, it's rarely passed on to the younger generation. So it's all the more reason to get in more people who are interested in this. So it's not only restricting to the families that they do. Imagine, let's take stonework. It is so difficult to do. How many of them will get to this stonework? Or let's say you have invested, you have made the child go to do a formal education. They are sitting inside a classroom from 9 to 10, 9 to 5. They do not even have the fitness level to do the work what a stone skills is required. So that's where it is, not working out. So we should start introducing these kind of skill center in every age group of education. Then we can revive this heritage of ours.
Like giving a certificate or making it fashionable to learn, right? Making it worthwhile to learn, right? Okay, so when we talk about, skilling, etc., fine, we are looking at skilling, we are trying to increase the supply, but there has to be a market for it. Shruti, unless there's a market for any place, unless there's a demand, no supply is going to happen, it's going to die out. So, but unfortunately, if you look at anybody, they would rather go to Europe and shop, or that is only an ethnic thing. How can we fit into a contemporary thing? So there is no mind. I cannot have this, etc., etc. So you are talking about a mindset in the demand side. So how exactly how do we make it? Like she said, you create awareness, but how do we make it, fashionable? And how do we bring in some kind of a self-pride, in our own heritage and architecture? The minute that comes in, you're proud of, right? How do we address that?
Hi, good afternoon. I think the first thing that comes to mind now when you said people want to shop abroad and they want to go to Europe and all of that, I think globally there's a shift. People are looking inward. They're not looking outward so much more, because people are exploring different parts of the country. There are so many things that's fascinating. When we're talking about revival of heritage, there's a certain skill set that you're preparing in centers like this, where you have so many people who are dedicated towards a common goal. But then there's a step further to that, which would make them really useful in today's scenario, and that's innovation. People may not want the same tile, like we saw Athagudi in the morning, right? They may not want it on the floor anymore. So that's up to a lot of us to figure out how to innovate and how to use it in a different way going forward. We may not have the same requirements as people did when that craft first came out. we may have evolved a lot more in our usage, in our in what we need it for. So then it becomes, it becomes a part of our job and a part of the job of the people who are actually in the craft to see what more can be done with the craft. We no longer have huge courtyards everywhere where we can use these tiles and things like that. So can I use it on the wall? Can I use it in my ceiling? Is it my dining table? Is it my decor? The same technique that they have learnt of doing the paints a certain way, can the same technique be used in another application? So while the core skill set remains the same, what are the other avenues in which these core skill sets can be used? Then you're opening it up to a larger market where they can be employed, where they find themselves useful. Instead of just saying, okay, I will do this one job for the rest of my life. Because things are moving forward very fast. There's Google always in everybody's hand, and you can always pick out an idea from anywhere in the world. But we have to be able to supply to an idea. So I think it's also about innovation, not just the learning of the craft. And that will be lucrative for the younger generations. So they won't feel stuck. There's the sanctity of the craft, which their previous generations had. And then there's a very strong business component, which the younger generations have. So to marry the two is a little difficult. And they will only stay if they feel like they can make a living out of it and it is lucrative. So that's where innovation steps in.
And that's where the architects and the designers step in. So to bring in that innovation, to bring in the contemporary twist, to see how it can be, how the versatility can be, dipped into, etc. Right? Okay, so let us say we are able to sort of look at the demand side and the supply side, Indrajit. But the question is, one thing is when you decide, okay, so I'm going to use it. One thing is, first and foremost, you got a problem. Who are the artisans who are available for me to use? I have decided to use Athangudi tiles, okay? Now I have to go all the way to, Karaikudi, and then the quality is suspect. So you're saying that, it is going to crack, there's going to be a problem, there's going to be a chip, so should I use? So there's one part which people are contending with is, who are the artisans? We don't have any information, right? You've got to scout for them. Then the quality is suspect. Then thirdly, also it is the continuous supply. Like for example, weaves. Okay, supposing you want to use it in an interior interior, and then as soft furnishing, if you have a catalog, will you be able to continuously have supply? So you're having all these challenges, roadblocks. How do we address this?
See, as I think we already spoke about, I think what happened was that artisans or any development or any of the skill sets were actually family driven. People continued doing it for their livelihood. But over a period, and the demand was also pretty low because we were a country which was not independent, and we would only work for the British masters. But over a period of time, what has happened as we, became independent, we got liberalized, and today we are seeing a huge growth in every industry. And whether it is educated, skilled, trained, untrained, we are seeing a lot of manpower shortage in every field. So there is a huge population which needs to have jobs, and there is a huge demand which are looking for people. And there is a huge gap between both. I think that's where probably the Prime Minister, probably Shri Ravi Shankarji, got this vision of creating a supply chain which manages both. The second challenge which happens is that unlike the West, like if you take a self-drive car, it's very economical, but you take a car with a chauffeur, it's very expensive. The difference being that in our country, till now, a product is valued more than a skill or more than a talent or more than a qualification that you have. Like you can see, like architects are very well paid abroad. They are paid less here. You look at a mason, he's paid very less here. And this is something which is driving people away from their traditional skill sets to new age learning where they are getting a better livelihood with lesser effort. So this is creating a huge disruption in the supply chain because absolutely there is a need. But as we are seeing situation changing today, you see sometimes a driver whom you hire or a cook whom you hire could be probably being paid higher than a qualified engineer who is stepping out of college. So, things have started, the new cycle has just begun. And this is where I feel that, skill development is going to play a long way, and it's going to go a long way, because you will start seeing a lot of skilled people coming in, giving us all the confidence and the resilience and the courage to experiment with these materials. I'm sure all of us want to work with Athangudi, we all want to work with different things, but the lack of confidence which is remaining is because of the lack of people which is there. So I feel these are the kind of things which will bind the gap, and probably you will start seeing that probably the stonemason who does a tough job will dictate his term, work for 8 hours instead of 6 hours a day, charge much more than probably a qualified guy, and you will see the gap filling in. And there are a lot of people who work, and all these things are driven by passion. I'm sure a lot of architects who are sitting here are not looking only at money, they're driven by passion to do something. And there are professions, or there are businesses where you can make more money easily. So a lot of passionate people, once they get a respectable income, a respectable living, and you start respecting these talents and skills, we will see a huge evolution which comes in. And the second thing, what happens, like if you look at Indonesia today, look at Bali, the way they have promoted their culture, the way they have promoted their art, the finesse with which they do their artifacts, their Buddhas, you probably find a Buddha in every part of the house, probably in every home today. So, we have probably not exposed ourselves to the world as well. So on one side, we are unable to expose because of the lack of proper controlled supply and proper quality control, as well as proper delivery control. I think once these two things come in, then we get the confidence to market ourselves, we scale up. We'll see probably 10, 20 years down the line, I think these skills are what are going to pay, and it will be a totally different game altogether.
So you're saying this could happen if there is ample support from the architect fraternity, from the public, one hand to scale up the demand, the other one if it is made visible, the promotions are done skillfully, then you're talking about a huge amount of promotion, creating a demand where probably it did not exist. So which means you've got a design fraternity catering to the demand, then automatically there is a demand. Then you're saying the supply will automatically start, ironing out the roadblocks, ironing out the difficulties. Then you're looking at a market which is going to be robust, and there will be greater skilling and heritage will be saved. But again, there the architects and the promotions will have to come in.
So what happens here is that, anything to succeed and grow, it has to have a proper organized thought. And there's a lot of effort which goes in. There's a lot of systems that have to be set in place at every level, whether it's HR, whether it's skill development, whether it's marketing, whether it's resilience, production, supply chain, all these things, and finance, all these things are equally important. So what happens is that it's something which an individual cannot do. You can do it in a small scale. You build a nice small farmhouse, you have beautiful Athangudi tiles, you take the effort to source it. It works and it happens. But when you want to scale it up, when you want to take it to the next level, that is where I feel you require a lot of involvement from every stakeholder possible, from the supply side, from the demand side. And the first thing is educating a person. You're like today, I'm happy that they said that they're starting off at 10,000 and going much higher. But tomorrow, a situation comes in where an IIT graduate and somebody who is specialized in doing a stone masonry work are both starting at 1 lakh. And they have a level playing field. That is when you will see a lot of people jumping into this field. So the whole point here is that we have to work on it on a multi-model way to ensure that the skilled people are as respected as as much as a PhD doctorate engineer, because both are equally required to make something which is beautiful, something which is effective, and something which we can all appreciate.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sendil, I see. It's beautiful to use, yes, even if you address the supply side, etc. But you built the timbrel vault. There was a lot of effort which went in. Not everybody would have had the patience, the commitment to take it forward, really experimenting again and again. You just didn't give up. And then you came out with such a beautiful structure. But how many, of us are going to have that kind of a patience, that kind of a commitment? It's easier to say, why go for red oxide when there is an easy way of, vitrified tile is available. It's just 40 rupees per square feet. Why should I worry about, Athangudi tiles, right? So, and then let me go for, it's only natural stone. I will mine and I will get the. So it's a mindset where why should I break? And then I don't know what the quality is. It may be suspect. So it's not going to be so simple, right? Even if we have a supply, if it's a question of how many are going to commit themselves. I want your comments on that.
Okay, I think the answer lies in the word mindset. I think mindset of the architect designer and the mindset of every client in that sense. And if you were to look at heritage, or you were even talking about sustainable construction or developments, the challenge what we are facing today is the what we follow as heritage. I think we need to be understanding the integrity. I think I was just having a conversation during our lunch. So it is the integrity which we need to learn from the past, rather than even taking it up as a smaller material or whatever. So the moment something is, the integrity is understood, it becomes much more deeper in terms of your learning process, and there is a continuity which will happen because of that. So if you look at the traditional structures, I think from the part to the whole there was a relationship between everything we did. And now we are only like ending up talking about heritage at a very surface level. So if we can make a shift to a much deeper platform, I think this can probably have a larger influence. And in an Instagrammable world like today, trend or style will keep changing every 10 days. I think that's the speed in which the technology is also shifting. So that is something which we'll not be able to compete with. But if the work has its depth, I'm sure it will kind of sustain longer. And talking about the Timbrel Vault in specific, I think it's more a passion. I don't see it as a pain. So we have done 10, 12 structures, standing from day to night with the students, with whoever is the artisan, like anybody you find as a support, you work with them and then you try to manifest. So the whole process has been very spiritual to me in that sense. So you kind of surrender yourself to the process without questioning much about what is that I would get from it. Or I think the moment we get into that mode, it's difficult for you to get into this manifestation mode. So it's extremely important for us to kind of, and in the process, you also keep training a lot of people. So I'm sure easily we would have worked with 300 students and architects, training them on Timbrel vaulting now. And you can see the outcome in some projects, small projects, people taking it up, pushing the boundaries. So I think it's that integrity which we need to be looking for. And then we don't have to market it. So it will probably reach by itself. So we don't have to kind of make an effort to reach people.
See, Timbrel Vault is the,
I feel like you should make it marketable, and it's not about just passion. You know, passion has to be driven by a physical thing, because you have to, like once the people you train, end of the day what happens is those people should be able to make a livelihood out of that. So end of the day, while we have a passion, converting that passion into a sustainable business model is something which is very critical. Yes. And that is what will encourage a lot many people to jump in. So the spirituality goes with also some kind of a vision to do this.
And we're not, we're not talking only about Timbrel Vault. We're talking about even rammed earth, stabilized. Yes. Chitra has been doing this for so many years. Yes. It's not, yeah.
So my question would be directed to this organization itself. JSM, we have done projects here and we've used the various different materials. But when we come here and see the new buildings, sorry, they don't use any of it. And that's sadness, So in fact, you have asked me sustainability, etc. in the design, the place. I very clearly had large rainwater harvesting tank. All that was built. I don't know if it's being used or not. I clearly brought people who would talk about how to treat the wastewater, because there was a stream here, which was seasonal stream, and ideally the waste should not go there, because that would be going downstream and spoiling others' water. And we had talked about something called SBT. If it was done here, then Sri Ravi Shankar Vidya Mandir would have been pioneer. I could do it later at ISKCON in Mumbai. But the fact is that every time every bit of these stuffs are put on the shoulders of the architect. Like, how much can we do?
So
where is the will from the people themselves? Where is the will from the clients? Why, I was asking Leena, I don't see Athangudi here, in this place. I know, if you have to show, you should rip off this. I know there's a waste, and then think of what to do with the waste. But do it yourselves. And that is a very important way. 12 years back, you had CSCB here, you had rainwater harvesting and everything here. Why isn't it being there here again? Ask Jaisim, he had done with Porotherm and stuff, whatever that was called then, BTW, bricks and stuff. So these things are there, but still we come back to wire-cut brick with huge embodied energy, plastered, painted place. So what's needed is these organizations to walk the talk first. So I'm coming back to the fact that why don't we, you were talking about, I really like what Kembavi you said about making it viable for people to practice. Yes, this was near Mumbai, 100 kilometers away for ISKCON when we did with earth blocks. The engineers, because there are a lot of devotees are engineers there. They learned how to make blocks and they were able to make teams. And those guys are making blocks. And they're busy. We wanted for somewhere else, we couldn't get that because they're busy. So it's important that when it's done, others take it up, especially with organizations. If you have such a reach, as Sir said, from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, then it is you who is responsible, not us. You have to.
The co-op construction. Okay.
Our construction where the trustee's office and conference room is.
Yeah, but my cob is a very easy thing. It's a small thing and you do it. You have to do this building in earth. I'm sorry I'm not putting you down. Cob is an extremely easy thing. And again, you would have used a mason who knew about it. How much do your engineers know about it? That it takes time. For me to the second phase, which was to be done, was said, no, this is taking too long. I have done 90,000 square feet with Aluco bonds and I'll do that faster. Your people. So one has to now, as organizations, if you're talking about skill, you have to really step up of understanding. And I'm sorry, I'm talking too long, so just tell me. But the fact is also now we have to stop talking about heritage and such issues. We are in an era of climate change. Now we're going to go through El Nino. We will be having drought. More and more of our agricultural labor will come to the cities. Construction is the industry which employs the second largest number of people. How are we going to take them in? Are we going to take them in with respect, like Kembavi said?
That's where you're going to be answering. On the next panel, you're going to be addressing that, Chitra.
Yeah, but...
Yes, you're the... Okay. So essentially, like you said, yes, the organizations will have to take it up on a larger scale, while the architects do their little bit. Yes. Bharti, you have battled with this, with reviving heritage, whether it's weaves, whether it is paintings, whether it's Tanjore paintings, Pichwai, you name it, you've been battling with that, trying to, take it forward, extend the market. What has been your experience? It's not been a very easy journey. And where do you think designers can come in and help out?
Yeah. I would also like to thank Chitra ma'am for pointing out what she did. But I would also like to share this insight that I am very proudly a part of this organization since I was 10 years old. Yeah. And the organization is all of us. So it's not architects versus organizations like this. This organization will become that when architects like you become involved much more in it to say, listen, I have the expertise, I'm going to pitch my time here and I'm going to make this happen. I've seen this organization facilitating so much transformation only because people like each one of us steps in and says, I'm going to commit my time to it. This skill development center right now could have been earth if people like you put your foot down and say, Gurudev, this building needs to be like this. And you are all most welcome. It's never going to be easy. It all depends on how much you are committed to doing it and how much time you want to invest here. No, it's your choice. It's absolutely your choice. Wherever. It's not just, I would not want to argue with you at all on this, but I'm just saying there is a choice. Oh, everyone over here is a volunteer, ma'am. So if you, yeah, so those who are volunteering here, they do end up making a big transformation. It's your choice to decide what you would like to put in. Yeah, that's the space from which everyone here comes, and that's totally yours, your call to take. Yeah. This is something I just wanted to share because that's how I've seen so much happening over here. The amount of transformation in the people is all come from people who feel I want to contribute. That's it. And it's never an easy path, like Senthil also shared. There's always something to battle out and stand for. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that you don't have yours. It's just that this becomes one more. Yeah. It's your choice, absolutely.
Yeah, so where do you think, in terms of, contributing to the heritage part, to the weaving, the revive?
Yes. So I think so many dimensions. Yes, Vishwanathji? Yeah, you can speak.
Nice. I think most of the yeah. That's what I wanted to say. A lot of people were sleeping. Thanks, Chitra. I wanted to be, I wanted to be heard today.
Yeah. 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 So here, what Nandini asked, I think so much of the solution has been discussed over here. But yes, the challenges that we have been battling is that, for example, I will take the example of a Kanjivaram sari. The average age of a master weaver today is 58 to 60, which means clearly the next generation isn't showing as much interest. The Tamil Nadu government started a skill center for the next generation, but they had to shut down because no one came to study over there. And that's clearly because, like he pointed out, they didn't see a future in it. A local mobile company was ready to pay 8,000 rupees to keep them as a sales executive, which means steady income for them, which if they were weaving a sari, they don't know till someone picks it up, till it's woven. They have no clue how much money they're going to make. And why do they need the money? Because otherwise no one's going to marry their daughter to them. They can't have a family, things can't proceed. It's the cultural and the financial aspects are so completely interlocked that unless we can make it sustainable, marketable, it is a struggle for sure. Social media, like he said, has provided a phenomenal platform for people to come to know. Like my mother has worn saris all her life, but she never knew what a Paitani sari was. She's a Tamilian, she's worn Kanjivarams. She'd never seen a Paitani till I showed it to her recently, like 5-6 years ago. So there's very little that we know about the diversity of the traditions that we have in our own country. And of course, while bringing it to schools, since we do have social media, I think one nice thing which I do tell people is it doesn't matter whether you buy or not, but at least while you're scrolling, study a little bit, come to know a little bit about, oh, what arts are there in which state, go check it out, see what you can keep in your home, have a little bit of each craft in your own house, so you can say, oh, this is glass bangles from Faridabad, this is this from there. It's a small little thing. And like the mindset change that Senthil was speaking about, it's like when you say heritage today, everyone thinks, oh, heritage spa or heritage this. It's very expensive, not affordable. But heritage is really what our grandmothers, the way they lived their life, their daily lifestyle, all that has become heritage today. And that shift in mindset of going back to the roots and inculcating it and appreciating the art and making each one making their own conscious effort to bring it back into what they do, that I think can contribute phenomenally to these arts being revived. You don't need a 2 lakh pichwai in your house. You can keep a small 800 rupee little painting also. That's what you can afford, but you're still honoring the art. But you need to be aware that it's there. So that is where the awareness, the availability, the marketability, the entire, like how any business works, it has to, like all parts of the chain have to become strong. The architects, the organizations, and whoever in between also, everyone has to come together. That's really what I feel.
Shall we say that the master key, for changing the mindset lies with the architects? Anybody can answer that. Because, we have Jason here who has pushed his structures to everybody. When Jason goes and says, this is the design, people keep quiet and just go by the design. Right, Jason? Yeah. So nobody questions you. So his design just gets approved. So like that, taking this forward, whatever, creating the awareness or mindset or, bringing in this. Shall we say the architects hold the master key? I throw it open to all of you.
See, we have a key now, but everything is sensor driven, so the key is not working. So the problem today is it's like none of the architects themselves can do it. It's like all of us need to do it. Like I'll tell you, the highest sold dish in the country today is a masala dosa. I saw the Swiggy figures. It has overtaken the biryani, which was 2 years ago. So, if you actually look at it, we see Rameshwaram Cafe doing so well. You see so many places doing so well, but they're not selling a dosa at the cost of a sushi today. So, frankly speaking, when we look at that, so probably like what Jaisim did, one of the smartest architects and the most charming one too. God didn't build all of them with so much charm. So, what happened? So he could sell his craft well probably. But today if you look at in terms of food, like if you look at Gagan Anand, he started an Indian restaurant in Bangkok called Gagan's, which is the most expensive restaurant to get into. It was that you have a waiting line of around 4 months, you have to book your reservations in advance. So the whole pointing is binding the passion to the profession and making it sustainable and delivery. I think this is what will take us forward. All of us have put baby steps in our own way. And I think today, slowly the evolution is happening and we'll see a lot of change in the next 10 years.
Yeah, to a certain extent, yes. And rather than using the word pushing, I think it should be a natural process. It should be an evolution where people feel and understand the need for doing certain thing. Then it becomes the heritage for the future. Otherwise, I think the word heritage, are we reviving it or are we looking at it from a transformative perspective? I think that's the most important thing we need to be, transformation. That's what we need to be. That's what we need. So a process of walking involves keeping one foot behind and one in the front is when we walk. So I think that continuous exchange needs to happen, and yes, to a certain extent we can, but it has to come together with people changing their mindset. I think we'll go back to the first word again. Yeah.
I would just like to say, bring up the ancient adage which says, Sange Shakti Kali Yuge. So in this time, I think to make the transformation, the fact that we are coming here together, at least this discussion is sparked up. We will go back with some interesting thoughts, some that we agree with, some that we don't, but at least we are thinking about the topic. It's not dormant somewhere. So this kind of coming together, some who will move together, some who will move together, but maybe in another direction. But this moving together is, I feel, the key to evolving, like, or catalyzing this transformation.
We as architects, we really have that power. I take it up, I own it up, and we will make that small difference that we can do. Yes.
I think I would like to see change from our side as architects. I think I would like to probably see how we can push the boundary of what we know as a core, as crafts that we all think about, and see how it's received, because it's a process of experimentation. There's no straight rule to saying yes, this will work. Where architects will take the decision, somebody else will oblige. That won't happen. That's never happening. Sir was a different case altogether, but that doesn't happen to us generally. So for that, I think it's probably a step-by-step thing. Like he said, I think it's an evolutionary thing. We'll experiment. We'll see how it goes.
See, I feel, frankly speaking, like if you look at Europe, the Renaissance was the fastest transformation. And it happened a lot in Florence with the Medici family. So, they recognize the talents of Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and so many others. And they created reformative structures. So, architects can contribute a lot. We are all Saraswatis, but we obviously need Lakshmi to support us. So, we have Lakshmi sitting here. And, like once we get together in a confluence, Saraswati will come out, where we will have the perfect milan of, finance, arts, crafts, everything. And
I agree.
Don't be a Durga, no.
Durga is actually teamwork, She never fought any battle alone. Any asura she wished to destroy, she always multiplied herself into devis of multiple qualities.
Probably as, like both of you were talking in a combative tone, but if you start looking and make it collaborative, and we start looking at things in a way that, everybody cannot on this planet become a volunteer to any organization. Though they would want to, they have to sustain a business. At the same time, you need people like us, we need people like you. So the movement, instead of being combative, it becomes collaborative, where we understand each other, the differences, and try to get it together. I'm sure together we can do a lot of difference. So let us take it in that positive spirit.
I think we look at it, maybe we have to look at it as, okay, we are talking about 40%, carbon emissions coming from the construction industry. What is it that architects are going to do? We keep talking about that. Then probably we look at it, okay, each one does, it's a drop in the ocean. Each one does a little bit, and then we are addressing this. Thank you so much for being there. Our esteemed panelists are Leena Kumar of Kumar Consultants. Leena is also the Joint Honorary Secretary of IIA National. She's also the Chairperson of Assocham Gem Karnataka. We have Vishwas Venkat from Crest Architects. Please welcome Leena Vishwas. Chitra Vishwanath, Biome Solutions. And Vijayta Malik of Malik Design Studio. Nitin Solapurkar of Solapurkar Associates. Nitin was the past president of IIID National. Welcome all. We will move on to the skilling the construction workers. Currently, we are looking at a situation